Hey, Dr. Kaylin here. Today I wanted to talk to you about the power of self-talk and how our self-talk can make things easier or harder on us. So it's something that we want to have at least a basic understanding of and be able to master the ability to be able to move a thought that makes things easier for us instead of more difficult. So here's what happens. The subconscious mind actually hears words and language differently than the conscious mind does. Now, why does that matter? Well, because the subconscious mind is incredibly dominant. It's controlling around 90% of our actions. It's controlling our habits, our behaviors, our beliefs. So if we are accidentally reinforcing what we didn't want through the subconscious mind, we're going to end up with more of what we didn't want. So understanding a little bit about the language of the mind and how the subconscious mind is hearing things differently can make a big difference. Maybe this isn't about willpower at all. Maybe this is about learning how to be able to move our self-talk in such a manner that it's actually more supportive and working for us rather than working against us. So here's what I mean when I say the conscious mind hears words different than the subconscious mind. I'm about to give you a very specific set of instructions to not think about something. Are you ready? Don't think about what an elephant looks like. How'd that go for you? You thought about what an elephant looks like, right? Yeah. So even though with your conscious side of your brain, it was very specific and clear with those instructions. Don't think about what an elephant looks like. But your subconscious mind turned around and did the exact opposite. And as soon as I said, think about what an elephant looks like, or don't think about what an elephant looks like, the subconscious mind pushed that image to that elephant right to the front of your brain, and you thought about what an elephant looks like. So your dominant subconscious mind basically took over and it controlled the situation, even though you wanted to do the opposite. So that's what I'm talking about. Now this is important because the subconscious mind isn't even hearing certain words. So it's not hearing words like don't and not to know. It doesn't hear negative modifiers in language. So depending on where we place that word depends on the outcome that we get. It depends on whether we do or not think about the elephant or whatever. So now here's how that can make habit change easier or harder on me. Let's say if I am trying to stop eating sweets. So I'm at work and someone brought in this box of donuts in the break room. And I'm thinking about these donuts, but I'm trying really hard to eat right. So I tell myself, don't eat the donuts. Don't eat the donuts. Okay, so my subconscious mind is actually hearing, eat the donuts, eat the donuts. So guess what? That dominant side of my brain that's telling me now, eat the donuts, is going to take over, and chances are I'm going to find myself in the break room eating donuts. Same thing happens with anything. So let's say I use the word not, and let's say I want to stop smoking. And so I tell myself, I'm not going to smoke a cigarette. I'm not going to smoke a cigarette. My subconscious mind is hearing, I'm going to smoke a cigarette, I'm going to smoke a cigarette. So you see how this is going to be harder for me to change a habit? Because I'm not actually getting more of what I want in terms of thoughts in my mind and reinforcement. I'm getting more of what I didn't want. So what do? Well, I need to avoid those words. I need to avoid the words don't, not, no in particular. I need to be very careful how I structure my self-talk in a manner that gets me more towards my goal rather than away from my goal. So if I stay focused on what I don't want, I get more of what I don't want. But if I start being more focused on what I do want, I get more of what I do want. So let's go back to the smoking example. Instead of saying, I'm not going to smoke a cigarette today, because that's focused on what I don't want to do, right? What if I change that self-talk to, today I'm a non-smoker? Well, that's what I wanted to do. So now I'm telling my subconscious mind and my conscious mind simultaneously what I want. So now both sides of my brain get the same information, and it makes it so much easier for me to get over here and avoid that habit that I was trying to avoid over here by staying focused on the negative thought. So that's step one. Now think about this. You can not only do this with habits, you can do this with emotions. So let's use an emotional example. Let's say I am about to give a public speech and I'm really, really nervous about it. I don't want this nervous feeling, but I feel really nervous. Well, so what can I do? Instead of focused on, don't be nervous, because we know that makes it worse, I need to start taking my focus to how I want to feel. So in this example, instead of feeling nervous, I want to feel confident. All right. So if I'm starting to feel nervous, I can change that self-talk to, I feel confident about my speech. That's a great idea. The problem is, sometimes this big leap from this negative thought to this positive thought is too much at one time, because it still has to be believable. So whatever positive thought we want to land on, that has to be a believable thought for both sides of the brain as well. Otherwise, this transition doesn't happen. So sometimes we have to find these in-between spots that are believable, but they're improved thoughts. So let's say in this example, I feel nervous, but I want to feel confident. And so if I'm feeling nervous and I tell myself, I am confident, but I don't really buy into that, then I need to find a stepping stone thought that gets me closer towards my goal. So instead of feeling nervous, I could say something in between, like, but I'm becoming more confident. All right, well that's pretty believable. If I know my material well, I'm becoming more confident. Sure, okay. So now if I'm feeling nervous, I just change that thought to, I'm becoming more confident. Because see, now it's easier to get from here over to here. And if going from here to here is still too big of a leap, I can still find another spot in between. I could go from I'm nervous to I'm becoming more confident to I'm becoming more confident all the time. I'm confident. So you see how by taking this negative thought and stepping stone my way over here, I'm able to achieve more of what I wanted to achieve. So we can do this with emotions. We can do this with habits. We can even do this with physical reactions to things. Let's do an example of a physical reaction to things, because we know there's a strong mind-body connection, right? So a lot of times heart attacks are stress-induced. Well, stress is a mental feeling, right? It's something that starts here, but the body has a very, very strong reaction to it. So we know that by controlling our thoughts, we're able to get a very different response in the body. So here's an example of that. Let's say that when you woke up, you didn't get a very good night's sleep, right? So when you woke up in that morning, and you're like, wow, that was a rough night's sleep. Today's gonna stink. It's gonna be hard. It's gonna be a difficult day. Then you go about your day and you, at pretty much every opportunity, tell everybody how exhausted you are. It's like, I'm so tired, I'm exhausted, I'm barely making it through. No, you're right. That's going to be a hard day for you, and you're going to be exhausted the whole entire time. Because what you did was that you had a real physical thing, you really were fatigued, but then you totally like put all your chips on that, right? Where you really focus on that negative feeling, and you brought your mind there, and you really brought your attention to it. And so your mind communicated with your body, and your body communicated back to your mind, and all it did was make it worse. So your day just sucked. Thing is, it didn't actually have to go down like that. If I'd have taken the time to move that thought around to something more positive, I would have ended up with a very different reaction. So let's do it again. Okay, I didn't get a very good night's sleep. All right, so let's say, but this time I say, well, what's the opposite of that? How do I want to feel? Well, I want to feel like I have plenty of energy. Okay? So now I can try that. I can try this big leap, and I can say, all right, didn't get very much sleep, but I have plenty of energy. Oh, do you believe it? Maybe not, especially if you woke up tired, right? So this is another example where I might have to do some stepping stones in order to reset my mind this new direction. So let's say, yep, I woke up, I'm tired, but this time my reaction is, but that's okay. So what I've instantly done by saying, but that's okay, is I've taken the drama out of it. I've reduced the emotional impact of that immediately, which is so much different than I'm exhausted. So you see the difference between I'm exhausted to, that's okay. Wow, big difference. Emotionally, there's a big difference right there with that message. So let's do it again. Yep, I woke up tired, but that's okay because my energy levels are going to come up throughout the day. And so what I did there was I took this negative thought and a feeling, I minimized the impact by saying that's okay. And then I changed and I pointed my thoughts towards the direction of how I actually want to feel. So I said, because my energy levels are going to come up throughout the day. So I actually shifted that thought towards that direction. Now, sure enough, my energy levels will come up throughout the day because I took the time to work with my mind enough to redirect that thought. So, recap. We want to avoid negative words like don't, not, no. We want to keep our thoughts pointed towards what we want rather than what we don't want. Think about training your subconscious mind like you would train a dog. If you want the dog to sit, you just tell the dog to sit. And through repetition, the dog learns that sit creates an outcome. That's how you get the response that you wanted. If you were to tell the dog, don't stand, probably not going to get what you wanted, right? So the subconscious mind is like that. Focus on what you want rather than what you don't want. Now this all takes practice, and that's okay. So practice makes it easier over time, and it won't happen overnight, but it will happen. Because even as you practice this process of redirecting your self-talk away from the negative and focus on the positive, that action, that activity, that becomes a habit, and it's a useful habit. And your brain will kick in, and your brain will start kicking in automatically so that the negative thoughts don't have time to sit there, and you're ruminating on it and you're feeling it, and it's affecting yourself physically and your perceptions and your outcomes. You take control of it like right away. So there's power in that. Thoughts are powerful. Focus on controlling your thoughts, moving them so you get more of what you want. And it makes everything so much easier. Changing your thoughts changes everything.